And so when he left us, which, was unexpectedly, it just kind of happened like that. I hadn't learned the full business.
But I think that's something that I think the audience needs to hear is like how important it is that whatever you're going to do, 150%. Like most owners, you had a procedure on a Tuesday, you came and worked a full shift on a Wednesday. Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, Johnell Garmany of Garmany of Red Bank, happens to own one of the top fashion specialty stores in the entire United States. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, bud.
So today we're going to be talking about the success of the store, how it's got here, a little bit about your family life and everything that's kind of brought you to where you are right now, and then kind of share to our audience and my viewers the amazing person and the culture that you bring to this store that embodies the success that I was touching on earlier that you just see. And I believe we can get a lot of pearls out of that today for young entrepreneurs and people in any walk of life or any type of business that can really want to scale their business and how to deliver it even at a 5-star scale level of fashion this is. So first question I have for you today, Johnell, is I think the biggest thing that really hit home for me was not only how amazingly impeccably dressed you are, but the story behind the store. With your father and I believe your uncle and how it started, I believe, in the city and coming out here. Tell me about, and of course, always be remiss to say, your father's passing, but tell me about how the influence of your dad and how he was running the store and being in his shadow and then running it, how that came to be. Tell me a little bit about your dad first and then, the passing of the torch, and obviously you're crushing it now, but let's hear about that.
Well, look, anytime I wanted to see him, it had to be here at the store, or where, or our other locations where we'd start out in the city. And for me, he was like Superman. He was the man. So for me, like I always wanted to be around him, and that was the only way that I could be around him was to come to work with him every day. So as a little kid, I was always surrounded by clothing and tailors and and retail, and it just, for me, I don't know if it just started getting into my blood or it was always in it, but it's
so the vision, and we were talking about it earlier, almost call it like it's the epicenter of the Epcot of high-end fashion. Was this your dad's vision too? Like all the stores looked like this, where you just had amazing designers from all over the world, and basically every room you walked in was just spectacular fashion? Yeah.
Well, the way he always set up the stores was by designer. Okay. If he figured if someone if he liked at the time, it was like Hugo Boss or Armani, if someone was into that brand, there was the world of Hugo Boss, the world of Armani. And so from day one, even if we were, in a 3,000 square foot store, that's how it was actually
still set up.
So
what I would say is this store, and I've traveled all over the country, and I'm definitely a shopper. I definitely roll into cities, and I love checking out the high fashion stores. This is one of one, but this is unique.
Oh, thank you.
And when you walk in here, it's like just a wow effect. We talked about this the other day, and I know this is like your safe place view. You come in here and you relax. Like, this is like the happy place. In creating this, what do you do every day with your guys? Because I know they're style consultants or personal shoppers. I know I can't go a week without checking in with Gopal. What's going on in the high fashion? I'm blessed to have him in my closet. But how do you maintain that? What do you guys like? I know you got to stay way ahead in fashion, but tell the audience how you stay ahead of the fashion and just being this amazing store.
Well, I mean, it starts with the culture, first of all. I mean, for me, I can't hire someone I don't like. Back in the day, the way you used to hire was, if you had talent, you knew how to sell. All right, hey, you're great, you're hired. Okay. For me, it's more about that. It's more about bringing someone into the family, someone who's going to fit into the family. Okay, and if it doesn't fit, you stir the pot, then it probably is not going to work. As far as fashion goes, I mean, it's something. We take trips into Italy, we take trips to New York City. We're always out. We have scouts looking for the latest and greatest. But it's also, I don't know. Like, I have, I suppose, a unique type of style that when I buy, and I have someone. First of all, there's always someone in my head when I'm buying for somebody. Okay, and they're trained as well in my women's department. But also I have a certain style that, I kind of buy things as if I were going to like buy them for myself.
You're wearing yourself.
Yeah.
That's what Shay said. She said when you guys are out in Chicago, and we'll touch on health and your drive as a businessman, is that she said you have an uncanny ability to identify high fashion. And so I guess hearing it from your mouth, that you do have a gift there.
Awesome.
You know, the one amazing thing that we talk about all the time with that 1% or really successful people, you've been going through some health issues and look fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
But the amazing thing is, like most owners, you had a procedure on a Tuesday, you came and worked a full shift on a Wednesday.
Almost a full shift. Almost. But thank you. Almost. But, look, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
go ahead, yeah.
It's, when it's yours, okay, it doesn't stop. When you have, children, and most parents could understand this, is, you don't stop being a parent. Your kid needs you. You have to be there for them. And for me, the ironic thing is they really kind of don't need me. I just feel like, if I'm here, God forbid something, like if it were to burn down, I'm here. Not that I could do anything about it, but
physically present.
Yeah.
Was that something you learned from your dad?
Oh yeah.
Because the big thing was obviously with your dad's passing. It was a great honor, and I'm sure you wanted to see him retire and pass it on. But him passing and then running with the torch, was that something when he was sick that he always tried to be here until he physically couldn't?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, he was here the day he died, as a matter of fact. And which, by the way, you know what? It's fitting for him. I couldn't imagine him like passing away. He had cancer. I couldn't imagine him going through all that, ending up in hospice and then passing away. He ended up having a massive stroke, and he kind of went the way he wanted to go.
Yeah.
And hey, look, people they tell me all the time, like, oh my God, do you miss him? Obviously I do, but I'll say, you know what? I got to spend, especially me and him together, over 20 years together, every single day. So I spent more time with my father than most people were spend with both of his parents ever in their lifetime. So
and
I'm
I can hear in your voice, and it's funny. When people meet me all the time, I'm pretty intense and I have a presence. And I have to say, like, I know my dad's going through a chronic illness right now, it's brutal to watch.
Yeah,
but I have to tell you, when I say that too, that like I loved how you opened up talking about your dad, and he was your Superman.
Oh,
and for someone, and we always refer to it as a soldier's death or something like that. That he was in the house that he built with his son and just rocking it, you know, and to go out that way, it's like I think everybody sees that greatness in him, in you, because your staff. I love when you walk away, because that's always a good measure of a leader and how complimentary they are of you. And it's huge. I tell people all the time, like you walk in places and as well as I do, you go, yeesh, they don't love him so much. They don't love her so much. You can see the people, I go, oh yeah, well, it's pretty rough. So.
Well, I praise my people. I have to say, maybe they're giving it back to me, but look, can I tell you, and it's funny that we're talking about this now. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I said to them, guys, we had a phenomenal month last month, and I have to thank you because this is the first time, and I can't tell you, since the 8 years I've been, doing this myself, I haven't seen the synergy. I haven't seen the chemistry that this team has. Yeah. It's awesome. They like each other. They like being with each other. I like being with them. It's and it's like a big club. It's almost like we're having too much fun. Like we should find a little time for business. That's
so like a winning streak. It feels like you guys are on a winning streak.
Oh, without doubt.
It's funny. I love hearing like great coaches in professional sports talking about in being in the zone. Yeah. And when you're in the zone, you're just loose. And for you, it's the sales are happening, the customers are happy, you got repeat customers, new customers, and growth. One of the things that I was going to touch on, because one of our mutual friends was just here in Tony Lucia, let's talk about COVID. Right. And I know that's the one thing you're remarkably, top, especially fashion store, maybe top 5 in the country. And you're so quick to share the highs and lows. And you said during COVID, and thank God Tony's here with us. He just had a recent severe health scare.
Thank God, yeah.
Let's tell the audience about how influential he was as one of the top fashion people globally. I remember going to his office and seeing, I was blown away. I was like, no, guys, you don't understand. They're like, what do you mean I go, 3 cards. One was Oprah Winfrey. One was like King Enterprises. I mean, they were literally like billion-dollar people, like 3 in a row. And then this shoes was like Madonna, this and that, like huge iconic figure in fashion. Tell me about his impact he made during COVID and the fear, right? I mean, it's only a few years. You're holding on to the reins of the store. Dad had passed.
Yeah.
We're shut down for almost 2 years. How was he influential to that? How did that come to be? And, you know, where you are now, the success you're enjoying.
Yeah. Well, first I want to tell you, I probably wouldn't have made it without him. He came like a godsend. You know, we would talk during COVID. At a certain point, if you remember, you know, we were all doing nothing. We're inside a house. I have I have 3 daughters and a wife, so I need to get out of the house. You know, I would go to Lowe's just so I could be amongst like testosterone. And you know, we talk, and he would say, "Hey, you know what? I need to get out of the house. Let's meet at the store for coffee." I'm like, "I'm in." So we'd meet here like every day. Every day we'd meet here, and at a certain point, you know, he said, "Look, I just retired from Hugo Boss. Okay, I could help you, you know."
And just put in perspective, what was he doing at Hugo Boss?
Oh, he's running Hugo Boss. He was
running Hugo Boss. We're not talking about somebody that was just employed there. He was running the entire global show, correct?
No. Talk about somebody who's like extremely humble. It's him.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
You know, I'll say to someone, look, you're living with you're amongst a living legend. And he'd be like, "Oh, stop. You know, he toned it down like right away. But you know, the man is. But yeah, he was running the Boss. And, you know, he ran a couple of Escada, G-Star. You know, he was all over. You know, he was with Donna Karan. He was with Armani. He was, you know, they
brought him as like the hired gun because he was so good.
Yeah.
So what was it that you, obviously it was like almost like a mentor relationship, right? Because here you are you know, like especially House of Fashion, although iconic. What did you pull from him? What was the strategy? Like, what was the takeaway? Just to give like a quick, you know, elevator story of like to get him through. What was the get through that got you over the hump?
Well, the first thing he said was, "Look, we gotta just accumulate cash."
Okay.
And so we set up deals with all the vendors. Look, you want to get paid? Well, you know, we'll pay you in full, okay, but you're not gonna get paid till, you know,
X date.
Okay. If you give us a discount, we'll sign a check right now. And you know,
so he squeezed some people.
Yeah, basically. And, you know, like
hey, listen,
that's not my like.
So Tony did a good job at that. You needed Tony.
I did
the
Tony.
muscle.
I needed the muscle.
Yeah.
And so I learned. I didn't realize you could do that. Look, I learned. You know, it's funny because I was a creative guy. My father was a money guy, but we never really kind of shared that world. And so when he left us, which you know was unexpectedly, you know, it just kind of happened like that. I hadn't learned the full business.
Got it.
I knew how to put outfits together. I knew how to buy. I knew how to budget. I didn't know the other side. I didn't know that you could strike a deal doing this. I didn't know you could strike a deal doing that. He brought that to me, and I learned a lot from it. And in that small period of time, I learned a ton. And I'm super grateful.
So in doing that, saving on the margins was something because you obviously didn't have the floor traffic and then getting going. It was just a remarkable thing. One of the amazing things, the experience here. And, you know, they talk about it, like the Garmany experience, the one-on-one, having a stylist with you. Was that something your dad brought in, or was that something he saw that he loved? Like, because to me, I love it. Like, even we talked about this event, and we could have some people in here shopping. They want a stylist to meet a person, make a connection, and then go.
Yeah.
What's your emphasis on that when you're talking to the team? Because I know obviously you just had a record month and the team is there. Yeah. How do you sharpen that with them, if you will, as a skill?
First and foremost, I just tell them, look, let the client have fun. Mm-hmm. They're here for a reason. We're kind of isolated, so they're not just coming. They're not strolling just to see the store. People are, for the most part, coming in with a purpose.
Yeah.
And, I don't want them on top of a client. I want them to, look, get to know them. That's it. I don't want them selling. They go to Neiman's to get sold. They could go wherever to get sold. Here, I want them to feel comfortable. It's almost like they're coming to my living room.
Got it.
And I want them to have a good time. So it's whether, they come in and, they want, a single malt, or, whatever, just to hang out. I have people come here every single Saturday, by the way.
Yes.
Every single Saturday just to hang out, have their espresso. And I love it. I love it. The fact that they're coming here, okay, they could be anywhere else. They're coming here to see us.
Come say hello.
It's awesome.
I love something you said there that we talk about that all the time in our companies is education over sales, right? so you're a stylist yourself. It's a culture of educate them about fashion.
Yeah.
Have a relationship, share with them their hobbies, their interests, and then make recommendations based on that from the learning process that you get from interacting with. I don't think you'd call them clients or customers. It sounds like they're friends and family. Right?
After 1 or 2 visits to us, they become like that.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
So let's talk about this. Let's jump topics a little bit. The business seems like you're married to it and you absolutely love it. It's as if you have 2 wives.
Pretty much.
But hobbies, recreation, what do you do for downtime? I know you're constantly out marketing. You're all over, social media, attending Jets events and the Boomer event that's coming up, right, for his son. Absolutely, so absolutely amazing. But what's the hobbies? What do you do to kick back and relax?
I discovered golf.
Okay.
And
I
discovered golf. No, I'm horrible. But, it's nice to be out there. It's always with a great group of guys. I think I might like it a little too much. My wife will definitely tell you I like a little too much. But, with the cool thing is I'll go in the morning. Okay, I'll come to the store, and then the store's got me for the rest of the day, and I come home. But, look, every once in a while I'll sneak out. I'm getting better. I'm a little better at that.
So I'm assuming you're the best dressed person on the course.
Oh, 100%. Look, if I can't play good, might as well look good.
Listen, I must be cut from the same cloth as you, because I always tell people, listen, my clothing game in golf is fantastic. Now my score is probably in the 200s.
Oh man.
So, it's not too many sports I can't play, but golf is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
How about this? So one of the big things we always talk about in our podcast is rituals and routines. How do you, because you guys are so far ahead in fashion, how do you prep for the week ahead? When does that start for you guys? I know you guys are closed on Monday.
Right.
Is that when the team meetings happen? Like, how do you set yourself up? Forget that we're in this store, any business. How would you tell people here? Because there's a great culture here. It's calm, yet, it's kind of high pressure, because people that are coming in here are spending a lot of money. And, and they know it, it's like, so it's always the funniest is when I was inviting people that are clients of yours forever and this and that to the after event. I had to chuckle because people call it like Garmany 5 or whatever it is. And you're like, you're in for $5,000 and you love it. You love this stuff. But, and I was like, huh? And they were old timers, guys that had been here when they were telling me about it when I had just moved back, you know. But how do you get your team ready in prepping? Is it something you do? Like, do you have meetings? Like, from a leadership perspective, how do you prep them for this remarkable amount of success you guys enjoy?
So I have everybody come in early, especially on a Tuesday. We're off Sunday, Monday.
So we pregame.
Yeah, pregame. All right. So we have our meeting, and we go over the prior week, prior day, or prior Saturday, what happened, how we can make ourselves better. Mm-hmm. This client needs this, whatever. Okay. And then, first of all, when they come in, the music's pumping. I have the music to 11.
Got it.
And it's dance music. It's upbeat. My feeling is I want people coming in here and kind of
get charged up.
Get charged up. I'm ready to go. We have our meeting, and at the end of the meeting, I actually have them dancing. Literally have them dancing.
Love it.
And it's just to loosen them up. As far as I'm concerned, look, they're here. I have them here from 11 to 6 or 11 to 5. I want them it's as if they're like on theater. Okay.
Got it.
So I want we have to strike that chord right in the beginning of the week and beginning of the day.
So your Monday is like win the week. That's when you kind of get after it, right?
Yeah.
And then tell me this. I love that. I had a business coach that always talked about that, like the onstage Disney experience, right? And Disney is obviously a billion-dollar company. They always talk about when you show up, it is theatrical. It is showtime. It is showtime. You are dressed to the nines, and I like that. One of the things you do with social media that I love, you guys capture your stylists, and they allow you to post, and I love that. Yeah. Is that something you had to push, or they kind of go with that? Like,
it depends. I mean, there's some people that they're a little camera shy, and I gotta tell you, look, I have an extremely attractive bunch of guys, and girls, I should say, and I'm like the chubby guy, So ironically, I'm pushing them to do it, and here I am on the podcast. I'm sure I'm 10 pounds heavier on camera, but it's all right.
I'll tell my Sean, who leads my social media and videography team, to slim you up. You'll be looking like Bruce Jenner.
Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna look like Bruce Jenner. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
But anyway, dating myself there. But the other thing that I love with this is we talk about some obviously fashion icons. You talk about, Tony and these different people you got to work with. You do a lot of like philanthropic stuff,
Right.
and I love that about you. That's one of the things that you're always, even today. One of the amazing things is we have Eric LeGrand, as one of the features along with Industry Magazine, and I didn't even have to push you. You were like, hey, if we have some sales today, we're definitely going to kick back. Was that, is that something you kind of came with on your own? Because I know you said that, unfortunately, we don't schedule deaths and births and this and that, and you lost your dad. That's amazing. There's a lot of companies that have a lot of money and they're cheap.
Right.
And you do a great job and you almost get stressed. Like I've attended the Boomer events and like, I know that's a big expense for you. And even today, like, what's your why on that? The give back. And I love it, but I think the audience should know, because I think more people should do that. Like just to lend a hand and give back when you're doing well.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm going back to the Eric LeGrand thing. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in New Jersey who didn't feel for Eric when that happened. Yeah. And so, I mean, man, 100%, I'll be happy to do what I can to help anyone who's gone through that.
Got it.
As far as charities and things like that. Look, when my father passed, I said I want to use this giant store as a vessel. Okay. Whether it's for cancer, whether it's for cystic fibrosis. I have several friends who are affected by cystic fibrosis. We've done some things with autism. We've done some things with MS. So for me, it's a little more personal because I tend to do it for because it's affecting people that I know.
Sure, absolutely.
And look, why not throw a party? Have some people. Look, we have wealthy clients, okay, and they have wealthy friends. Why not invite them over and
let them get back?
Let them get back. Why not?
So one of the things with Eric, for me as a kid, I was paralyzed. So when we met each other, obviously I was blessed because I had autoimmune disease. It's self-limiting. And there's some restrictions, like I can't have, antiviral medication and vaccines and whatnot. But the reality is when we were talking, it was amazing to see it. And I know you've met him before as well, the energy he had for what he's been through.
Right.
And, it's just a blessing. And he's going to be here a little bit later today. And I think that was a pretty awesome thing. But I love that you're not afraid to go into, and I think this is because the culture you've created here. You do look at your clients as friends and family. So I think when you put your hand out to say, hey guys, I'm giving back, join me. I think that's something, if Dad was here, he'd be super proud of you, because that's definitely that's something that I see all the time, or I'm reading about, I should say, because being in the podcast space, we're constantly studying to see who has an amazing story, whether it's, somebody that's, 10Xing, biohacking, this new health campaigns. And I know Sean's always pushing everything to me to read and study, but one I'm most blown away with is gratitude. And when I see people that are great, it's so true that when you're grateful, for what you have and it bounces to you, what would you say about this store that you're most grateful for?
Oh, I mean, clients, the people that are in the tailor shop, the guys, and they're in the stock room. Obviously, our stylists. I mean, none of that could happen without them. None.
Got it.
Okay. Hey, look, I inherited an amazing store. Okay, and you know what? When I first took it over, as you know, the second generation usually screws it up. My job, or my goal, was not to screw it up.
Don't screw it up.
But I didn't say screw. It was something else. But so I got to be super grateful. Okay, they could go anywhere else. Look, there's Neiman Marcus, Saks, there's Nordstrom, whatever. They could go anywhere else. I'm just so happy that they decided to come here. And look, I don't know about you. Whether it's a restaurant, whether it's, if you're there, it's so nice when the owner or whoever's in charge comes over and says, hey, thank you so much. Well, you know what? Look, people spend a lot of money here. The least that I could do is go over to them. And by the way, it's heartfelt. I'm not doing it just to be like, oh, it's time to say thank you to everybody. No, for me, it's like, I give more hugs here than I do, handshakes. It's 100%. It's awesome.
I would say that's something that in our velocities, we're blessed to have seen probably close to 20,000 patients now. And I was saying that the other day. I got a text from a officer now in the Navy, and academic. He wanted to, this young man's been around me since he was single digits, and he texted me today his accomplishments of what he's doing, and he just passed another certification and climbing his way up to, who knows, he could be an admiral one day.
Wow.
And I absolutely agree. And I literally said to him, and I was almost choked up at it because my son's playing baseball at IMG now. I still have that young man's baseball and we met him, his mom was at the time dating a friend of mine, and he gave me a baseball that he said, save this, one day it's going to be worth something to play in the major leagues. And it was the cutest thing. And I had it down in my workout room, and that ball's still down there.
Oh, cool.
And I had said to him, I was like, Mick, I've been a day one guy. When I met you, and a young man has that kind of charismatic person, him and his brother both, his parents did a great job raising these kids. And, but I get it, because I think I have a gazillion stories like that. And you start thinking, right? You start going through the archives, and you're like, we're blessed to have, people like that in our lives, and going to work. It's never work. No. It's like going to your second home.
I'll tell you this. I mean, I have people, I'll go out with my friends.
Yes.
And they'll be like, look,
get it.
I'm like Mr. Saturday night. Saturday night is like my night to go out. I have dinner, whatever, with my friends, but I'm exhausted. Okay. They're like, you seem to have more fun at work than you do.
Been grinding all week.
Yeah. And it's true though. I do have I have a great time. I have a ball.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it's it's going to sound weird, but it's like a party. It really is.
Yeah.
Especially you're here on a Saturday when it's crazy busy. You have like.
That's the day. Saturday's the energy.
Saturday's the day. And it just, you're seeing all these people, and most of them are returning clients. So
it's the connection, like the Saturday morning espresso crew.
Yeah, 100%. So it's funny. I don't know. It just you have to experience it on a Saturday to see what it's like. It's just fun.
Let's talk about the big vision. What's next? Obviously, success. You've enjoyed it. You've embraced it. You've sharpened it. Right. I mean, it's something you guys work at.
Right.
Is there anything exciting coming up, or just you want to stay number one and ultimately try to be number one in the country?
That would be great.
Yeah.
Baby steps. I still have 3 daughters, all 2 teenagers and a tween. I've gone back and forth as far as maybe expanding, going elsewhere not elsewhere, but in other locations. But at the end of the day, I got to be a dad. I can't, spend 4 days in, wherever, and then, it wouldn't make sense. So, I have about 6 years before the last one goes to college or wherever she wants to do, and then, we'll see. So,
do they have any interest? Did they come to the store?
No. You know what? It's a tough business. This is not like it was years ago. Years ago, when I first started, our competition was down the street. It was, 2 towns over. Okay, it might have been New York City. Now it's
online
internet,
shopping presence.
Online shopping. Okay, not only online, then now you're competing against your vendors. Not only competing against your vendors, you're competing with them online. So it's a lot. It's a lot more difficult.
I think that the world is probably saying right now it's checkers and chess, because I think when they may be playing checkers, because you seem to be a couple moves ahead of them. So
I'm just getting lucky, man.
Hey, you know what? That's okay too. It's, however you accumulate fortune. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So one of the things today's podcast has been fire. Hearing about the strength of the relationship you got to have with your dad over the 20 years you got to work alongside of him, the pride to talk about that family's a huge part of the driving force, and the family you've built here. What is one of the things that you would tell somebody starting a business to recreate this success? What would you tell them?
Well, you gotta love what you do, first of all.
Okay.
And love what you do, but work your tail off. Okay, especially if you're young. If you work your tail and you just bury yourself into your business, you're going to succeed no matter what, because it has to take over your life. And you know what? Look, I mean, I was lucky enough where I started in when I was young, early teens. I was selling suits when I was like 13 years old.
Nice.
Okay. And you multiply that or you magnify that, I should say, when my father passed, and then it was like, I didn't want to know anything. I just wanted to make sure that I made him proud by burying myself into this. And, look, my family have probably suffered a little bit, okay, but they were very understanding, and thank God. Look, I'm married to, like, an amazing woman, okay? She definitely did better than I did. Or I did better than she did, 100%. 100%. And, I have 3 great kids, and, thank God they understood and
And was that similar? Is that how it was with Dad? Like Dad was always at the store.
Oh yeah.
And again, because this is a niche business. I mean, this is the one percenters, right? And so I think that's one of those things that it's very hard because I know when I've gone in, especially post COVID, what I was actually telling the guys today was being in grad school in Atlanta. We had 2 amazing malls. I think one was Lenox Mall, and the other one was like the Phipps Plaza. And that's really, and I was early 20s. I was in grad school, and I got to do like special event planning. And I was blessed. I think I told the story when we first met. One of my, I think they're Markey family. They're from South Africa. And before Versace's passing, they were one of the largest independent. Then I think that Versace took it all back in. I think when his daughter took it over or something or other. But they had stores all over the place. And Todd kind of reminded me a lot of you in that, like, he would always say, he's like, look, we have pro athletes coming in, they're going to drop $100,000 or whatever. I have to be on them from a food experience. I may shut the store down, be engaged, but, it's not about money to them.
Right.
It's about the connection, that trust that they're, you make sure that the fit is impeccable and this and that. And I think that that's probably something that you're kind of saying is like, this is such part of you, that it's like, I think your family gets it and everybody gets it that sees it. Even when you get to your guys on Saturday night, which I better get an invite from you Saturday nights out.
Definitely.
I'll keep you awake. I'm an early bed guy too. So, but I think that's something that I think the audience needs to hear is like how important it is that whatever you're going to do, 150%.
Oh, and not only that, look, you'll get it back. Okay, no matter what. I'm not. Look, yeah, I'm in business to be successful, of course.
Yes.
But look, we carry $12,000 sport coats. Okay, if that $12,000 sport coat looks horrible on a guy, okay, I will gladly say, look, take the $1,200 one because it fits you better. Yeah. Okay, that kind of thing. Those little things are always going to come back to you. People really they appreciate that.
Sure.
So if they see you're working hard, if you see you're running an honest business, if you see that you're appreciative, they're going to keep coming. And that's my philosophy. I could be wrong. Who knows? It's worked so far. But
goes back to being lucky.
What do I know? But yeah. Where I could just be, maybe I'm lucky. Who knows?
It's okay. Hey, listen, luck, fortune, definitely luck favors the hard workers, right? So I think that there's no shortage. I don't recall at any time ever come here, unless you were literally just left or just coming in, you literally, it's like the sun and the sunset and sunrise. You're here every day, and I think, people will say to me all the time, as far as like the success of the business. And there's one word that I always say, consistency.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, one of the things I send to my son, and he's probably laughing every time he listens to his podcast, and I'll definitely laugh down the road, is I always send him this Sean Casey Ed Milet podcast. And, Sean Casey's talking about baseball and that they grew up in a working class area, I think in Pittsburgh or whatever. And the father was, I don't even know what the income was. I think the income was either dad was making either $30,000 or $70,000 a year total. And, the importance of the coins to go to the batting cage. And I said, Johnny, it's all relative. But you know what the dad said to teach work out? He said, listen, we'll figure it out. You don't worry about that.
Man.
We're making a deal right now. If you do the work on your end, I'll figure it out on my end. And I feel like, it's like, even regardless of the success, at that level, it's like, I feel like your dad put that in you. Because even hearing you talk about a 13-year-old figuring it out and like being so proud to push the suits, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And you're just like, you're staring at your dad to kind of get the pearl and you're like, let's go.
Yeah. No, he was, let me talk, look, my dad, unfortunately, this is the weird thing. He would come to maybe a little league game here and there, okay, but he was always here, or like a football game. He was always. But the weird thing is, I understood. It's crazy. It's like I was never upset that he wasn't at the game. Okay, as a matter of fact, if he was at the game, I was like, holy cow, like he's here. But it wasn't like. I never got upset.
It seems like you had that passion. Yeah. When he got home from work, was that almost like talking about the game? Like, how was it at the store? Oh, yeah. And like, you'd like, tell me about it. Was there anything crazy to happen today?
Yeah, no, he, with him, he was one of these guys, and I don't know if you remember, he was such a charismatic guy. Even to me, like, I remember like just being at like, a party and, he's talking to his friends or whatever. And I would just sit next to him and I'd be like, wow.
And how he carried himself.
Not just carry. I was so interested. I'd hear the story a million times. And every time he said the story, I was like, wow.
Still locked in.
Yeah, still locked in. Like, it was just
love it.
the way he said the story. He was just, the one thing I wish I had gotten from him was the charisma that he had. Maybe I got a little bit of it, but he had.
I think you sell yourself short there. I've walked.
He had the Cuban accent. They're very suave.
I was going to say, because that might have been maybe more of a first generation or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that the impressive part with you is, we were at the Block the other night talking about this event, or a couple months ago now, and you have that like subtle leadership. You don't have to scream it, and we walked in from the, and then you had texted, because I think you're actually at another event, and from the doorman to the hostess to the bartender to the owner, I think you touched 4 people, and you would have thought that like Aaron Rodgers was rolling in. They're like, no, he's here. And so, I think your dad would be smirking that you don't always have to be the loudest person in the room to have a great effect.
Yeah. Well, definitely not the loudest guy in the room, that's for sure.
Well, listen, I absolutely loved everything we talked about today.
Yeah, same here, bud.
I think the takeaway today is just consistency, right? Determination, dealing with hardship, learning, there had to have been some fear, right? When your dad's passing, it wasn't like you planned. He's like, where's the playbook to run this? And then trust, right? Yeah. And I think probably the one thing I would tell the audience is, when you're blessed to, like you said, this landed on your lap, but you made an impact on people that are literally like iconic fashion figures, like a Tony Lucia, to come into your life and give you input during a global pandemic that shut the world down. And now here we are saying, hey man, you're like the Dallas Cowboys or New York Yankees of fashion, in that you have a top 5, one of one store in the United States. So, huge kudos to you.
Thank you.
The success doesn't, the humbleness of that. Like you almost laughed saying that, like, I don't want to say it, and the team had to say it, but that's amazing, because like you said, it's a competitive market. And I'm sure these people selling you these crazy expensive brands are hunting, and you're competing against these department stores, and yet you're still top 1%.
Wow.
And when you look at that perspective, you're doing something right. So keep it going. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We ask you, our greatest thank you is you sharing it. If you thought there was value, share it to your friends. Like us, leave a comment. Johnell was an amazing guest today. We thank you so much. And again, Garmany of Red Bank is definitely worth the trip. This is a destination store, one of one. It's a top 1% store in the country. So worth it. And again, follow us on Instagram at Dr. John O'Connor, or our social media platforms. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.